right, it is 6:01. We'll call this meeting to order. Good evening, everybody. First order of business is to approve the June 23, 2026 meeting minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve those?
Moved. Second.
Has everyone gotten a chance to review those meeting minutes?
Yes.
All right. Any discussion on those? Okay, all those in favor of approving the June 23rd, 2026 meeting minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
They did.
Steve seconded it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I moved it, Steve seconded, so it's now a vote.
Connie, are you able to text Katie the link into the meeting? She can't find it.
Okay, I don't think everybody voted.
Did you vote, Ally?
I did, I said yes.
Okay, then we had 3.
I said
This whole
yes.
1 minute?
Yep. We can just keep moving through the agenda anyways. We don't have any additions or deletions. Any members of the public want to be heard for something not on the agenda later?
You're on the agenda later.
Yeah. Okay. I will just ask, we have some correspondence. I'll just ask if the board is okay if we move the correspondence from Cory Ciklin to come after the policy committee report. If everyone's okay with that, then
Yes.
we can move on to our correspondence from the fire warden. So we received notice from the Commissioner's Office of the Department of Forest, Parks and Recreation that there was a new law that is changing the forest fire warden designation to now automatically be our fire chief. Glenn Beatty has already reached out and let us know that he will be that person and plans to have Roger Brown as the deputy warden if Roger agrees, and that the assistant fire chief will also be a deputy warden. So he's still working out the details as that just came through from the state. Alenka will continue to give out burn permits as the town is used to going through her for that. And I guess the only other new thing that came out of that law is just a specific campfire definition being defined as a fire 36 inches in diameter or less built in stone arches, outdoor fireplaces, or existing fire rings. Or 36 inches in diameter or less, built in a location 200 feet or more from any forest land or field containing dry grass or other flammable materials. So that really just lays out some specifics as requires for burn permits or not. And we can still say you can't have a campfire if there are hazardous conditions. So that's that. It's just informational, no action there. We also received another notice from the state of Vermont Department of Taxes around the required reappraisal. Just as a reminder for everyone, we're not going to need to take any action here. We already have a contract with a company to do our reappraisal. They did not allow, or they are not offering that to us until 2030. So we have a plan for that. Unfortunately, it's going to take some years until we can actually act on that. So that is just, again, informational that we have a reappraisal that needs to come up. And also a reminder, the state of Vermont is now also going to be requiring reappraisals happening on a 6-year schedule. So regardless of any other status that might trigger reappraisal, we should be expected to do this every 6 years after 2030 when we get ours done. Katie's in? Wonderful. We can move on to the warrants next. Over to you, Rob.
Make a motion to pay the warrants, starting with number 1, payroll, in the amount of $11,525.78. Number 2, payroll tax, in the amount of $4,599.92. Number 2 vote is the general fund, highway. You want to do it?
Let's do a vote first on that first one. Let me just get the total
Stay
for
quiet, nobody came in with a second.
Yeah. Do we hear
For the cube,
So that is the total for the first vote.
with a total of $16,125.70.
Do we hear a second on that?
Second.
All right. Any discussion on the payroll warrant? All those in favor of approving the payroll warrant, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed and abstentions?
Aye.
Thank you, Katie.
Aye.
Vote number 2, general fund highway, the amount of $4,420.04. And number 2, general fund highway, in the amount of $112,330.92. For the two of them put together is $132,876.66. I'm looking for a second.
Jeremy, the 112,000, is that paving in that number?
Connie?
The reason it's so high is, it's state taxes. It's like some of the beginning of the year
Yeah.
costs that we have. I don't think any of it's really highway, it's mostly the 100s.
Mostly the 100s?
Yeah. Like passive, state tax, they're all very large bills. I'm looking at them.
Do we hear a second on that second vote for general
I'll
fund
give it a
highway?
second.
All right, any other discussion on that warrant? Okay, all those in favor of approving the second warrant for general fund and highway, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? And any abstentions? All right, thank you very much. Okay, we can move on to our highway report.
Not really much to report, we're just getting our summer projects rolling, replacing culverts, back with them home this week and probably a little bit of next week. And we've been moving up in the acres to start all our grant work. Other than that, all trucks are running good, everything's good.
You have the excavator?
I do.
And then when are you gonna start roadside mowing?
That is coming, I believe it's either the first or second week in August. I got it for 3 weeks this year.
3 weeks?
That's all I could get it for, it's always available.
And how much a week now is it up to?
Almost $5,000,
And it's a 40-hour week still?
44 hours.
How much does it cost to buy one of those things?
No, we're not going there.
I just asked a question.
Brand new, they're 200 plus.
I may want to buy it and go into business.
Go ahead. Might be better than these.
What do you mean by that?
Well, we can go a lot more roadside mowing than we
All
can
right.
with 4 cookies.
Let's keep it on task here. Thank you, Jeremy. Any other questions for our road foreman? All right, appreciate it,
Thank you for
Jeremy.
doing what you do, Jeremy.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that Friday wasn't anything bad.
Here we go.
Good.
Oh. As you can tell, I think we've had my hip surgery, so I'm here until October anyways.
Okay.
Sure, well,
All right, we can move on to our treasurer report. We have a year-end report. Connie, do you want to give that? Do you want me to read off your printout?
Well, I just wanted to point out what is in your packet. Nemrick have helped me do a general summary, which is the first page of how we finished up the year. Included in that is a special projects detailed report that I'll refer to. We also have the end of year budget status report that is worth really digging in and looking at that. And I think those were the documents that I put in. So the way that we finished up in the general fund, the 100s, we underspent our budget. The problem we have is that we severely uncollected taxes. There are delinquent taxes that are over $200,000 that is impacting our general fund. So we ended up with a very small surplus or fund balance of $42,000 because we used some of the surplus from last year. So what Nemrick keeps hammering home for me is you need a plan for collecting taxes because it's unsustainable to have that. If you look in the budget status report, you'll see the revenue collected for the general fund after we paid out the highway, the library, the cemetery, the schools. I think it's $70,000 is left over for the general fund, yet our budget is $388,000.
Yeah.
So,
So we're over 300 in the hole.
it's a problem.
Yeah.
We've already gotten a large check for delinquent taxes for the month of June, but it doesn't help the budget last year, it's gonna help the budget this year. So,
But large, it's 1/6 of what's due.
I know, it's still large, but it's obviously not enough.
So if I remember correctly, and I looked for my town report from March, and I guess I used it to light the wood stove, but didn't the auditor's report say that we set our tax rate too low and we didn't generate enough funds?
I don't think they said it
I
that
don't
way.
think I don't remember the auditor
I can give
weighing
you
in on
another
that.
town report.
I don't remember the auditor saying that, but the auditor is coming out in August to do their year-end stuff. You certainly can ask him or Nemrick for a meeting.
This is gonna take me a week.
I think one thing I do want to point out on that delinquent tax bit is in the information that you provided us, Connie, going back through the 2010, 2011 tax year. I mean, year on year it was $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 delinquent. Last year, 24, 25, there was 27,000 delinquent. This year, year ending, we're at 223,000 of uncollected taxes. So, and that's just like a really huge red flag to me of like, why all of a sudden are we not getting our tax revenue? There can be a number of reasons why that might be, the economy, etc., rising costs, whatever, but it doesn't change the fact that that is a really big concern, and that is a really big thing that's driving this deficit. It wasn't in what we budgeted on, it wasn't in what we spent, it wasn't, in all these unexpected costs. It was a really big gap in collecting revenue. Can you say that again? Yeah, so going back through 2010, 2011 tax year, I mean, the yearly amount of delinquent taxes was ranging between 2,800 and 5,500 roughly. 2024-25 tax year, it was 27,686. This current tax year, we're short 222,000. So that's a really big jump in what's not being collected.
Can I interject? The last time we had a lot of stress in the economy, folks found that it was easier to owe taxes to the town because the interest rate was less than their credit cards.
Sure.
And that's...
Sure is.
Yeah, and that happened. And people very honestly said, if I'm gonna discover 18%, you 8%, I'd rather do the 8%.
Yep.
So that could be part of it. I mean, I might suggest that we ask Becky to come in and talk about what we're facing and come up with some solutions.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, my impression is that Becky does a very good job once they go delinquent. The question is there a way to avoid them going delinquent?
And there are some that have been delinquent for years, going through that list and owing significant sums. Some maybe they've been delinquent for years and it's small, but there are some quite large numbers there that have been going back for a real long time. So definitely, I agree with Allie. Like, it would be really helpful to have her here just so we can talk about how do we handle some of these and what are some of the challenges that she's going through as to some of these that have just been on the delinquent list for so long.
You can ask for that meeting if you guys want to reach out to her.
Well, the last time she was here, there was a few that was going to be probate court to
Yep.
deal with because it was people that passed and stuff.
Yep.
So it cost the town a lot.
But they weren't huge ones either. I mean, they were persistent ones, yes, but they weren't the bulk of it.
But at some point, you have to take them.
Right.
In terms of the highway, we ended the year with a $60,000 deficit in the highway fund. And when I was talking with Darlene about it, we overspent primarily in the area of the trucks And we did very well on the revenue end. We brought in more revenue than we budgeted for. But I think that Jeremy may have a better understanding of where you can look at the budget status report where the significant overages are, but it was, the maintenance and repairs of the trucks and materials, I believe.
Well, yeah, when salt goes up $11 a ton, when you budget for a certain amount of year, you budget in a year ahead,
Yeah.
so.
So there's two things to report on that, which is what NEMRIC is proposing is that we do a multi-year comparison at budget time so that we're not just taking last year's budget and adding a little bit, but that you're actually looking at the expenses associated with each line. And they said that they would help us do that at budget time. The other thing that Darlene from NEMRIC found because I wasn't aware of it, but again, wasn't an expert during budget time. There is a special projects highway reserve fund that has $58,000 in it that I wasn't aware of. Elaine did not mention that, or the reports that I saw
on the
didn't.
reserve?
It's a reserve
It's a
fund.
reserve.
But is it on page
It wasn't on the
22?
town report reserve sheets.
It's not on page 22. Huh.
So it's a special projects reserve fund. It has $58,000 in it. It's had $58,000 in it since about 2019 when we received a grant reimbursement for Bridge 42. So I confirmed with Steve and Jeremy that Bridge 42's project has been completed. It was completed years ago. And so what NEMRIC recommends that we do is we
Have a party.
we approach Jordan, the auditor, and ask him if we can undesignate those funds. Now that the project is complete, can we undesignate those funds? And that would virtually pay off the
Yeah, the
deficit
deficit.
that we're looking
Where
at.
do they show up in the numbers? I'd love to see where they show
Well,
up.
I gave, in the packet is the detailed
I'll look through
report
it
of
and look
it.
for 58.
Here's the detailed status report of it.
It's on the back page of the report that Connie
Yeah.
typed up.
So if you're all okay with that, I can approach Jordan and ask him if we can undesignate those funds now that we've confirmed that all the repairs and all the work has been completed on that bridge.
I think that would be great. I don't know, or do we want to have a vote on that, or if we're just okay with kind of approaching it?
Maybe you direct me to talk to him and whatever answer comes back,
Then
we'll
we vote on.
on.
Yeah.
So, do we need to vote on the direction now? All right. Connie, please do that, and please also do reach out to Becky.
Yeah.
I think those are two really important action items coming out of this.
And then that's all I have to report on. There will be more to discuss under the tax rate.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing all the treasurer award.
Yes. All right. Any further questions? We do have the year-end budget status report that we can all dive into after the meeting, but while we're on this topic, anything else that people want to ask or bring up? Okay, then we can move on to the clerk's reports in the last 2 weeks of June at the end of the fiscal year. Monika's office brought in $888. And on to the chair's report. I have two items, I believe two items I want to bring up. One, of course, we've had some conversation and some concern about water-based recreation at the Townshend Lake, at the dam that's run by the Army Corps of Engineers. Water-based recreation has not been available for quite some time now, and barring any federal funding that's going to support that, it doesn't seem like that's going to change. However, Alex Cope from the Army Corps reached out to say that they're going to have another public meeting on the master plan that they're updating for the Townshend Dam, or for the dams, including Townshend and Ball Mountain Dam. And he's really looking to get input from the public on brainstorming alternative ways to just bring visitors into the recreation areas and just kind of increase use. Waterborne recreation is still, not quite an option, but what are other ways we can get people out to the area and enjoying these public lands? So that meeting will be July 29th. It's 2 weeks from now on a Wednesday at the Jamaica Town Hall, and it'll be from 4 to 6 p.m. So we can put out a little front porch forum advertising that as well, helping to boost that. But that is just another opportunity for folks in town, for residents in the area who are interested to just go and be part of the conversation, as that will be the last public hearing as they're updating the master plan. The other thing that I wanted to bring up is we received contact from Stephen Brown at Grace Cottage, who is their CFO, and he was just requesting that we as the board sign off on their indirect discharge permit renewal. This is a permit that has been in place since the 90s, he says, renewed every 5 years, and he just needs a sign off from the select board, or from the chair, and from the chair of the school board, being that we own the land and the school shares the septic with them. And so really all they're looking for is just a signature from us, essentially saying that yes, go ahead with that permit application. So I'll look for a motion authorizing me to sign on behalf of the board for the indirect discharge permit.
So moved.
Do we hear a second?
Second.
Okay, any questions or discussion from the board on that?
No discussion.
Okay, all those in favor of authorizing myself as the chair to sign on behalf of the board, Grace Cottage Hospital's indirect discharge permit application, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, and any abstentions? Okay, thank you. That is what I've got for chair's report today. We can move on. So our auditor's recommendation report, as always, dovetails very nicely with our policy committee report. And given that we don't yet have a treasurer, there's not much on that side. So we can go right into the policy committee report. Allie, and Christine from the policy committee.
Christine's going to report for us.
You guys have a lot of hard work that you have produced, so I'm very excited to hear this.
Yeah, so in your packet, I believe you have 6 policies that we've written. Our goal is to refresh everything that needs refreshed according to the auditors, as well as other policies that seem to be outdated. We haven't started yet with a lot of those from the auditors, only because of the treasurer situation, and a lot of them are financial. But Alicia is working, and Alicia's probably online, right? She's working on a lot of those because of her background, so she's starting to plunge in, but we're not quite ready there on that. So the 6 that you have are the personnel policy, the conflict of interest, which kind of rides right next to that one, the towns and committees, which is important because of the outstanding committee request for town hall preservation, an animal ordinance, and a town hall and common use policies. And probably the town hall and common use are the least, the easiest, I would say, to take a look at and have your comments or approve. We just kind of streamline them so like there's policies on the back that say how you treat the building, what's permitted and what's not permitted. In those 2 cases, the animal ordinance, we did not have one. We had something about service animals in this building, but we did not have an animal ordinance.
The Book of Wolf from the state.
The Ally did a lot of research on various policies to find out what the protocols were in other towns or VLCT. So I guess if you want to discuss the towns and committee policy or the personnel policy, which are probably the 2 most important, we can do that. The committee policy is essentially rules and procedures of how a committee is formed based on other towns, based on VLCT, based on some of the things that the select board had already set up over a year ago, or about a year ago, where you call for the public to join a committee, looking for volunteers in the community to sit on these committees that have been formed, And we would just like to see that continue on as well as,
And the select board appoints
Exactly.
the participants.
right. The list is given to you all and you know, apportion them across the various committees where you have gaps. So, you know, to me, it seems all very straightforward, but, you know, maybe it isn't.
But we've been working with it for a while, so we're.
Right. It's
Yeah.
long, I know that.
Yep.
I might suggest that we quickly read over the committee one tonight and act on that one because it's pertinent to.
Pressing, right? It,
Right,
of course, when it comes
and
back
the
on
others,
agenda,
we
yeah.
let the board read over in the next 2 weeks and come back to, that's my thought.
Yeah, that makes sense. And we do intend to have another packet for your next board meeting as well. And then kind of continue on,
Yep.
you know, 5 or 6 each time until we're done.
Yeah. Just right off the bat, I just very much appreciate the hard, long work that you guys have put into this. Clearly a lot has gone into it, across many different policies, so very much appreciate that. Is that a voice on Zoom?
Yeah, with that. Laura's,
Okay. So I just want to start with saying that. My vision, I'll say, is I agree. I think we can kind of take a couple weeks on some of these less pressing ones, come back as the board with any questions, comments, edits, or whatever. I would like to see us come with that, give you some of our initial recommendations, and then from there, I would say, can we like pass it on to our attorney? That would be like my idea of a good next step, just to make sure that they kind of pass the sniff test of, is this legally sound or whatever, before we like adopt something, and then after that review, attorney review, we would adopt.
But if
But that's what I'm
well,
thinking.
I'll think out loud, if we're gonna have 15 or 20 policies, are we gonna have him approve all of them? And what cost is that? That's one of the reasons why I went to other towns and looked at their legalese, so to speak, and felt safe doing it that way, but it's up to the board.
Yeah, that is just my opinion of how I would like to see the process go. That doesn't mean that's how things are going to happen, but I just wanted to lay that out there, as I think these are generally legally binding things once they're adopted by the board. I personally would feel much more comfortable knowing that a legal professional also agrees that these look right.
We're doing 20 policies and they're all new in 2026. Yeah, you might want to have somebody
Yeah.
say, these are all right.
Yeah.
But it's not just the part where the new policies, we've had old policies that are now being reworked. Well, what's to take away from the branding of the original policy to now what you guys have remade? Not that I haven't even looked through all of them, so I don't know what the
Right.
differences are.
Right.
But I like Nick's idea where, you know, get it vetted and work from there.
I agree with Rob and Nick. I think it would be good to get it vetted through the attorney, anything that we do policy-wise.
And I would just reiterate, I feel like that's a last step before adopting something. I feel like let's just go through our questions first, make sure, hey, I don't really like this, let's add this or whatever, change that, and then let's say, all right, can you give us the okay, and then we can adopt it. Yeah, Dale.
The town select board is about the only ones that I don't see very often do it, but most of your school board policies, planning commission policies and stuff like that, they go through a public process too, that so the public has input and has it posted in draft form.
When does the
To
school do
review.
that?
I believe that's what happens with ordinances, not with policies.
There's certain guidelines there.
Can you tell me when the school has done that? The school wants a policy, they put the policy in
They
play.
put out,
And they
warn it,
very
they read it, they do it in 2 or 3 readings.
I don't know. Or maybe I live in a different world. I don't see it. I haven't heard anybody even talk about it. When they want something changed, the school just changes it.
I will say to that point, very specifically in the animal ordinance, that is a procedure that needs to be followed too, right? That there needs to be a public hearing on those things before we can actually officially adopt that. So yes, there is a procedure. I don't know if it applies to every policy. Maybe it does. Maybe it only applies to certain
That'd be
policies.
part of the
Something to look up to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for reminding that. Bring
The
that up.
sniff test stuff.
The sniff test.
Okay. That's
Um, We can go ahead and discuss the committee policy if folks want to just scan that over.
Well, if we don't discuss it or choose not to discuss it, I would say we choose not to address Cory's correspondence. Because I think it's a bifurcated issue.
Yeah, I think it does impact how you respond to that.
Well, then we don't respond to it. Huh? Right, we're gonna go tit for tat, let's just not respond to it. Be easier.
Well,
There's a deep situation.
one thing, I'll discuss the committee policy. One thing I would just not like to see in the policy is section 31, the existing town committees. I feel like that can be something that is listed on the website or something.
We did talk about that.
Yeah, I just feel like policies are kind of static, and so I wouldn't want something that needs to be constantly updated, and then do we have to now reaffirm the policy every time we're updating it or whatever? So that's just like a small recommendation from my end, not to say don't say what those committees are. We could definitely have that somewhere else, but in the policy itself, not to have it there. Yeah, Connie, I see you here.
So I just have, as I'm going through a couple questions. And I guess it's pertaining to open meeting laws. Do we know for a fact that committees are beholden so tightly to open meeting laws if they are a product of the
So
select?
that was something that Alicia did the research on.
And she found a statute.
And said that yes, it was, but my understanding is that there's also been some discussion.
No, and I disagreed with that
Right.
because we had called the league and got an opinion that if it wasn't a select board, there weren't 3 select board members there and there was no decision-making happening, that you can alert the town that there's a meeting happening on X amount of date and time, but you don't need to take minutes if there's no decisions.
Agendas and minutes, right?
Yeah. So we have 2 different,
So there.
And I've come up with the same question, like Alicia, I've looked at the statute and I'm like, it seems like we need this. And then we reach out to the OCT and they say you don't need all of that.
not,
So it's a
not
little,
this instance, you know?
yeah, it's a little.
The only reason
confusing.
I'm raising it is, I think transparency is important in record keeping, but I also don't want to put an undue burden
Mhm.
on volunteers of the
Volunteers.
committees to be on top of posting in a timely way
Yeah.
and note keeping.
Mhm.
But if that.
I did include all of the references to Vermont state law that was pertinent to the requirements of committees that are approved by the select board, and that's what the distinction is. But by all means, take your time to look through them. If you want to have the lawyer look through them, I did include the references specifically for that. But from my perspective, reading through Vermont law, it's pretty clear. So I'm not. If we could get something from VLC that refutes that would be great. But it's written in very plain language from my perspective.
I agree. Thank you,
I
Alicia.
think the biggest part is that we're not making decisions. We're making recommendations to
Mhm.
present to the select board who makes decisions and has minutes.
Mhm.
I mean, just practically speaking, I would think the public would want to have the transparency as things are crystallizing and coming to a decision place. If there's so many updates, meeting,
Yeah.
come here, come there,
Right.
it kind of becomes noise, and then all of a sudden something's been decided, and you're like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
you know?
Yep. I agree. I think even as the board, it would be nice to know, how did you come to these recommendations? Balance as well with the burden on volunteers who are just volunteering their time and don't actually have official positions with the town. So I think that would definitely be something else, if we can get a VOCT opinion, something in writing. Another question is, once we feel ready to pass this on to our attorney for his review, for sure. Yeah, Connie.
Number 6, I think is really helpful, expressly what they are able to do and expressly what they are unable to do. I think that would put some people's minds at ease.
Just also a point of clarification, like, if I wanted to have the Pink Elephant Parade Committee, for example, I could do that. And then if my committee came to a place where we have the details of a proposal to have a Pink Elephant Parade around Common, then I could get on and do business.
So it's very funny to bring that up. It's almost like you're a plant for the policy committee because there is a specific place in there where it says committees of the select board are created and appointed by the select board.
But your pink
The public
elephant
can
is
do whatever
not.
they want.
Right.
We cannot tell you you can't have a pink elephant committee. It just won't be a select board committee that is like authorized by the town of
But
Townsend.
then if I wanted the, like, town's approval, I could, like, still move forward.
You could propose it
So there's kind of
and the
like,
select board could say we're going to appoint this committee or not, which is actually what our request is.
okay,
Whether or not to appoint a particular committee. But that doesn't stop you from saying, I'm gonna get together with 2 other folks in town and say, we're gonna plan this out and see what happens. You, committee or not, select board committee or just plain resident committee, you still don't have any decision-making authority on behalf of the town,
right.
right? It's just
Right.
advisory to the board, so.
Just wanna
The
ask
problem with the
question.
advisory to the board is that it seems to me that when the advisory comes to the board, that we're bound by the advisory to take on whatever it is.
That's another
And I
nice
said,
thing
well,
that's in
hold
the
on,
policy.
I'm not done. And the other part with it is in my short time of being on a board or part of the town functions, there was never committees before and we ran just fine. And now we have a committee for a committee to watch the committee and to keep track of that committee over there. And we've just gone, we're spreading out the amount, like spreading out the ability
He's on.
to let somebody know what's going on and not let's what's going on, but make the decision. You guys got your own conversation going?
Yeah, we do.
Oh, okay, well then why don't you just speak loud enough and so we can all hear it?
So to your point, Rob, something that they did specify in here is the board can choose to follow the advice of the committee or not.
Yeah, but we,
Period. Right? Like, there's no binding to whatever the committee's advice is. The committee might propose
for
something.
a short little example, 2 meetings ago, we had the talk about the truck and I don't want, I'm not worried about it one bit. But the truck committee said, let's go with one place. I asked for us to just ask for financing for 3 different companies. Pretty minimal, you send it in. And it was apparent that it was not interested in going with 3 different financing, asking 3 different financing companies to see what they would give us for financing rate and agreements to it. And this is what my only point is that we're gonna get swayed into where all of a sudden nobody wants to do it because this one committee suggested this. And it's like, well, okay, not a big deal, but at the same time, it's like, well, it's a suggestion and all of a sudden now we're basically forced, not forced, but persuaded to go that one way. So, and this is just and it's literally probably one of the first times that I've seen the committee part work in a way that's like maybe not advantageous to the town. My only point. And it's like, we've gotten into, the gazebo committee, that kind of got a little frayed. The, town, the common crypt keeper and all that, that stuff's a little bit weird and all the other stuff. And it's just, so let's get back to the brass tacks. Committees are all cool, but it's like when it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Bottom line.
So I think we will get to that question of the truck financing in the old business part of the agenda, and hopefully that report out might.
Well, I didn't say it in the sense I needed to bring it up.
I know.
I'm bringing it up as an example of when the committee sometimes overshoots what their projections were. Should have done. I didn't need examples, I didn't need commentation, I'm basically
I think
saying,
you're putting out false feelings, false impressions of what we did.
you thinking that I'm giving out false feelings is.
I think
is
that's
fine.
how you felt about it. And that's
I'm
that.
giving you my feeling, I'm not asking you what your feeling is, to tell me about my
asked for
feeling.
direction.
No, we asked you for direction, you gave us a direction, and I simply said that I would like to see 3 different people, find out the financing. I mean, I'm giving you an example of when the committee overshoots where we're at, is my feeling. And I said it that night, too. It's not like I'm just slinging arrows here a couple weeks later.
Yeah, Katie.
Hi. I could say something about at least my experience of the origins of the committee, the need for committees, or what we had at the time a couple of years ago when we had elected 3 new select board members as a town, and then a member that had been sitting was unable to attend a lot of meetings, and then another member also was unable to attend. So we were down to 3 select board members. I think a lot of people remember that. We started to form some committees at that time because we had 3 select board members and we didn't have any more participation than that. And I think we needed some help to continue to keep the town moving forward. If there's no longer any need for that, because we have a full board of participatory members, I'm totally fine with, dissolving the committees and just having meetings and doing what we need to do in order to research trucks and stuff like that. I think that those committees were born out of that need at that time. And if we have 5 members that are doing stuff in between meetings and bringing things and moving things forward, then I think we're fine. We don't need it. So I'm open either way.
Can I add something to that?
Please.
Instead of just having black or white, why don't we go to the middle and say what committees do we need to keep and which ones should we say the board can handle, instead of just saying we're not going to have committees? Because
I'm open to that as well.
I think we have a
That's a
beautiful
good point.
common now. The grass is gorgeous. The plantings on the gazebo are wonderful. It's a common you can be proud of. And the committee has put a lot of hard work in that, and they've saved the select board a lot of work in that area. So I think instead of just saying we should get rid of committees because we have a full board, maybe we should look at committees, in my opinion.
Now, any other discussion on the committee policy that is before us? We can get into the nitty-gritty of what committees we should have or not at a different meeting where we are discussing those committees.
Let's make a committee to talk about the committees.
Let's say that. Any other questions folks have on this? I mean, we don't necessarily have to move on anything right now. And like I said, I think it would be great to get some legal opinion before we officially adopt most of these, but.
So do you think the plan would be to provide the policy committee, if it still exists, feedback, and then after that, that's when you go to the lawyer?
That would be my preferred course of action, but I'm one person.
We have somebody has their hand up.
Who is it?
Laura Richardson has her hand up, if you just see her.
Sure, Laura, go ahead.
And I gotta, yep.
Well, I know you want to discontinue the discussion about the necessity for committees, but I'm just wondering why there was a need to have a policy committee when we already have quite a few policies in place that were taken. All of the steps were taken and all of the policies were written up and approved by the town. Why was there felt a need to redo it, like reinventing the wheel, so to speak?
That came up because the auditor's report mentioned some policies that were lacking. And so therefore, the board created a policy committee of volunteers that would focus their efforts on reviewing those policies that were identified in the auditor's report. And Connie has something to add too.
No, Elisa has her hand up.
Alicia as well?
Alicia, I'm sorry.
It is also standard practice to have policies reviewed and approved annually, and many of our policies have not been reviewed or updated in many, many more years than that. So they all need a refresher and update as laws change over time and technology changes over time and our needs change over time. Just getting them to a place where they're currently relevant, and then we can go through that approval process on an annual basis. That's not saying we're going to be reinventing the wheel every year. They'll probably largely stay unchanged, but they should at least be looked at and addressed on an annual basis.
Thank you, Alicia. All right. Well, if no one has anything else to say on the committee policy, I am wondering if on the personnel and conflict of interest ethical conduct policies, if you guys could maybe just walk us through maybe some of the big changes to the old policies, if you have that handy. And then we can kind of look these over more and give some more feedback between the next meeting, now and the next meeting. But it would be helpful to know how that might have changed. Yeah.
I'll just add that NEMRIC has asked to review the personnel
those as well.
policy to make sure it covers areas that they're noticing needing that.
Okay. That's a good point.
Alicia?
Yeah, I also feel like, particularly since you called out the personnel policy, there were a lot of changes to that one because the old one was very lean. We did leverage some other surrounding towns, which also had some very lean examples. So in order to be able to give you a comprehensive list of the changes that happened from one policy to another, you would really need a side-by-side. I can put something together, but it's not insignificant.
Okay, understood. Are there maybe some highlights that we want to pull out, or should we just see if we can, it would be helpful?
It's more clarification of language. We took out some lines that were there just to be there instead of actually saying something.
Yep.
We made it more have more substance.
Okay.
I think we can put together what she said.
If that wouldn't be too much work, I personally would appreciate that.
It reads very much to me like any corporate personnel policy, actually.
That was my take as well. So
Yeah.
how is this? And I wasn't looking at the current policy at that time when I first saw this. So. Yeah. Well, I will also just put a plug for the simple and straightforward town hall and common use policies. If we're not going to move on that, that's fine tonight, but I just appreciate the work that clarified a lot of questions that come up as requests come through, as the board processes requests, when to apply fees and upstairs, downstairs, etc., seasonal or not. I just thought it made things a lot clearer and easier to read.
We spent a lot of time on it. We've even found an occupancy for
Yeah,
the building.
I see that.
Which we couldn't find
is
anywhere, and
great
we
to see.
finally found it.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks to Pam, she arranged to have the
Fire
fire marshal
marshal
come
come
out.
down.
Yeah. Marshal,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. So, let me just backtrack, make sure you two are, and Alicia on the phone as well, are committee members. Actions tonight that you were looking for. I know we've kind of talked through a lot of different things, so I just want to pull it back.
I mean, I'll speak and say if we're gonna hold off on them, let's hold off on them until next week. We can have the board look at it, make any suggested changes, make the changes, but I don't know how it dovetails with the correspondence about the preservation fund.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my only question mark.
So timing, really.
Yeah, I had hoped we would do the committee paperwork first and then address the preservation piece as a committee. But if it's not gonna work, then my personal feeling is then we have to wait on the preservation also.
Because essentially it's a new committee, right? It's a new committee that the select board certainly wants to have its say in.
Yeah.
And the planning commission has their,
Right.
the planning commission people are appointed by the select board, the cemetery are voted on at town meeting. There isn't any committee that just picks its own members. I'm just saying.
There still isn't.
Well, there isn't, but there are members of a potential committee. So,
Okay.
And that could easily be offered up to the rest of the community as well.
Yep.
Right. If it's approved.
per the process laid out in the committee policies. Well, I will leave it up to the board whether we want to. So let me just close the committee report. I very much, again, just want to echo what I was opening. Very much appreciate all the hard work that you all put into this. Clearly a lot went into it, and they look very comprehensive just on my first look through. I will strongly encourage and request that other members of the board do engage with us between the next meeting, and we can give some real feedback and questions, anything that we want to see added, taken away, or changed to these, to our policy committees, so that we can move forward and push them into the kind of next phase of legal review, and adopt some of these that, you know, for sure, the animal control policy, conflict of interest personnel, those things are really pressing. The committee policy, I think, is something we can figure out, but those three are definitely things that have come up legally, professionally, right, as we're onboarding staff, and as we deal with issues with pets in the community. So I just, again, really encourage folks to engage with us for the next couple weeks. So thank you again for all that work. Now I will leave it to the board whether or not we want to address or push off to the next meeting or till after committee policy is or is not created. The request from Cory, Ciklin for creating a Town Hall and Opera House Preservation Fund Advisory Committee has come in. I have some opinions on whether or not that committee is duplicative of other things that already exist. So I will leave that to the board, whether you guys want to pass it over or discuss it now, whether or not to create a committee. So I guess I will, I don't know, just ask for a vote whether or not to pass it on or to discuss it. Not a vote, but let me hear it.
I don't know if we can have a committee that's headed by somebody who's not a town resident.
That is not the request. The request on the committee membership, which we have full authority to decide who would be on that, is to include 5 folks from Townshend, not Cory. One person that was mentioned was Rob previously. Another person was Chad Greenwood, I believe, both the Corbetts, and I cannot remember who that 5th person was. John Evans. Chad and John, yeah. So those are the 5 people that Cory was proposing. That does not mean that's what we are saying. I don't know, Rob, you were approached about this.
Yep.
So I don't know if you want to discuss this tonight, or if you have opinions on
I was asked if I had interest in it. They had mentioned that it would be good to have somebody from the select board on the group, and past that, I didn't have much else to do with it. I did, said that a good one to be on there would be Chad, and I reached out to Chad and talked with him, and he said he didn't have a lot of time, but he would gladly, work on the advisory part, not on boots on the ground part, and that's kind of what I had said. And you guys can do whatever you want. I'm willing to help out, and I'm also willing to go work and make plenty of money doing what I do, not down here volunteering my time and listening to a bunch of hassle.
Yeah, Connie.
I think Alicia, do you have your hand up?
I just wanted to piggyback off of that, Rob. We did actually consider the legal aspects of having committees that have non-resident members, and as long as the majority of the committee are residents, then it is allowable.
I don't know why you're putting that towards me, because I didn't have any question about non-resident or resident.
No, you did. You
That
just
was
mentioned
Steve.
something
That
about
was
budgets.
Steve did.
Steve did, not me.
Oh, I'm sorry. I am remote, so I caught the wrong person.
Well,
But I did look that up and research it after it was positive, after we had discussed that.
I don't think that was something I saw in the committee policy actually, so maybe that's something that can be added, specified. In any case, do folks want to discuss creating this committee tonight? Let me just hear a yes or a no.
I've already said if we put
You
the
wanna wait till
committee
after the
off,
committee?
then let's put the request off as well. That's my opinion.
Steve, Rob, and Katie?
No.
I'm abstaining. I don't care whether we talk about it or don't,
All
or
right.
do whatever. I don't care if we're even on it at
Put it
this
off till
point.
next
And
week.
let's table that. Okay, we can move on to old business. Yeah, go ahead.
On the policy committee and
Yep.
feedback, are you going to be giving the feedback at the 28th meeting or prior to the 28th meeting? Or what's the timing on that?
I'm going to assume that that is going to come at the meeting
At the meeting?
based on how things have worked thus far. All right. Truck financing. We have some information that came from our highway committee on options for financing. I see we have 3 different financing options. I believe that was your request, Rob. And I will turn that over to folks on the highway committee to kind of walk us through what you guys have come up with.
I can speak on that if you guys can hear me okay.
We can hear you great. Thank you, Katie.
Okay, so Jeremy and I met and we took the motions and approvals from our last meeting about which trucks to finance. And then also additionally, I did put the word out to some of these leasing agents about some of the trucks that were not chosen through not that they were chosen, but were not asked to look into last time, because I knew that Rob had concerns about us putting the feelers out for any possible scenario. I couldn't get proposals. Well, I guess I could have, but it would have been really time consuming for any mixture of any trucks we could have chosen. But what I did want to do is look at some of what we were considering and whether or not we would get any trade-in, which with the trucks that have the 2-year lead time, we don't know what the trade-in could be. It could happen or it might not happen. So I wasn't able to input any information there. But Jeremy called Community Leasing. I called the 2 other companies. So I did get 3 different companies to weigh in on what the rates would be and what that yearly payment would be and what that larger amount would be. And I felt satisfied with that. Additionally, I did get 1 quote that took into account some of the trucks that we weren't told to research or we weren't directed to research. And that quote reflected it was about because there was no trade-in value there, we weren't able to put in that $20,000 less of trade-in, and the yearly payment was only about $1,000 less than anything that you see here for any of the lower trucks. What we did find out, and I'm not sure if this satisfies the board, is that if we were to bundle the trucks into 1 lease instead of getting 2 separate leases, our rate can be slightly better, although I don't have the number for the rate if we didn't do that. So I apologize for not overturning that stone. So these 3 different numbers that you might see in front of you from Community Leasing, KS State Bank, and First Capital Equipment Leasing Company all have the 2 trucks bundled. The number that we used, 479,683, takes into account a $20,000 trade-in on the 1-ton, which we were quoted, and it is the 2 trucks that we were given direction to or permission from the select board to look into leasing for last time. The 479,683 is the combination of both of those trucks, and you can see a rate from Community Leasing at 5.32, KS State Bank at 5.4, and I think First Capital, I don't have Connie's sheet in front of me, was 5.6. And you can see the different yearly payments. We asked them for no down payment, and we asked each company for a 5-year lease term, although they did have longer lease terms if we had requested that. I'm happy to take any questions or any more direction on research that anyone has for me.
My first question is on something that came up when we went through the greater issue, and that is whether these different leasing options include that clause saying, if residents do not approve the expenditure, then we can pull out of the lease with no penalty. That was a big thing that we were looking into before, and I just want to make sure that is carried over here. If we know that, we can get that more information.
Yeah, I don't have the answer for that. I didn't remember that was in our last one, and I think that was like something that we came upon when reading closer to the greater and the backhoe lease. That was a pleasant surprise at that time that was allowed, and I know that was a concern. So that is definitely something that I can go back to these people and ask them. I've found them very easy to get in touch with. I have a point person for each company who I have spoken to personally, and I know Jeremy has as well, and they're engaged in the process. So I can ask them that question and any other question that comes up.
Thank you, Katie.
And Jeremy.
Everyone who's spoken said those interest rates are gonna fluctuate too.
Yeah, I
It's
see.
so crazy right now that nothing's fixed anyway. So,
And it looks like those interest rates are generally kind of good for the next week and a half, maybe. But beyond that, they're going to be floating until we get in something.
Yeah, the interest rates, obviously they can't guarantee them, but they are all so similar. And I know with interest rates, those little points they mean a lot, like 5.4 to 5.6 obviously has a lot of different things behind it, and it does affect our yearly payment and what we end up paying overall. So that's definitely something we're all going to have to consider. I'm not sure why community leasing came in at 109 with the lowest interest rate. That there's got to be fees involved, but I think that one thing I did get when I tried to press further about little things like that is that that all hashes out in the application process, that if you're willing to go another step, then you find out more what this fee is, that fee is, and I can certainly ask them questions.
Yeah.
It's got to have something to do with fees, but I don't know exactly what that is.
Yeah, that was my question as well, and they don't provide a lot of information there, whereas, for example, what is this? Lease experts, but you called it something else earlier. They actually say the documentation legal fee that you're signing, that is due at signing. So I don't know if maybe if there's also some other fees that might be there that aren't spelled out in the proposal.
I will just point out there's an error on the lease experts. It's 538, not 583.
That's
It's an
important difference. I was like, wow, that one's really bad.
Didn't quite figure out why that.
Okay. So, of course, we do not have to act on this tonight. However, as we know, these interest rates are quite variable. They will fluctuate over time. So these numbers just may not last if we want to wait until the next meeting. That being said, I just want to see if anyone on the board wants to move on this tonight and make a motion on pursuing any of these financing options.
Oh, I think Katie said she was gonna figure out about the leases, didn't she? If they were forgivable, if the voters didn't vote the money in.
Yep, that is some more information.
Yeah, so.
So I'll give it a going once, going twice. Whether we're gonna move on this tonight or wait for more information, going 3 times.
Well, I'm looking at it and I'm saying to myself, KS State Bank, 5 years, $479,683 after trade-in, at a 5.4% is $106,777.51 per year.
Yep.
And the 5-year total is $533,887.55, which is the lowest of all of the other two.
Yep.
Which would lead me to believe that we're probably not going to find anything better than that.
And I will say, after buying several trucks, we would do a special article at town meeting to purchase one truck, and that number would be around $200,000 for one truck annually. And now we're talking about $106,000 for two trucks annually, and I don't think we can walk away from that.
You're saying it sounds like a good deal?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that one of the things that was attractive to us last time when we did the grader and the backhoe was this idea of no down payment. I think that helps the town a lot. It's really just divide it by 5. There's interest, of course, and I'm not I'm not saying that that's not a concern, but I think that this is very simple and straightforward. Also, since we don't currently have a treasurer, I felt like having one lease with 2 trucks instead of 2 separate leases might streamline things a little bit. The rates we were told were more attractive, though we don't have anything to compare that to. And the other thing is that we were told, I was told, and I know that they're in the business of selling these leases to us, but I was told that with the market the way that it is, there's really no guarantee with that 2-year lead time on the other trucks as opposed to these right off the lot, like what's going to happen, what those rates are going to look like. And they always want to lock you in right away, but these rates seem pretty close to one another across the board with all exactly the same terms. And I will also say that the KS State Bank was the most responsive and the easiest to go through all of everything that we were trying to go through with. They were actually the easiest to work with.
Can we move to approve with proviso that we're allowed out if the voters don't vote for it? Can we make a motion like that?
I don't see why you can't.
Is that a motion, or are you looking?
I'm asking if we can make that type of motion. I'll make it if we think we can.
No, if you don't decide something, those trucks aren't gonna be pre-built sitting there very long.
No. Now, as a truck committee, what do you guys think of the numbers?
I'm gonna tell you my opinion.
You usually do.
I know it is. It's $53,000 or $58,000. I can't remember when I did the math last night when we sat in the committee and looked these numbers over. That's what we're paying for interest, okay?
Yeah.
And exactly what Steve, I was so happy to see Steve see it that way, because that's the way I was always thinking about when we buy stuff and purchase stuff. We spread the payment out. That doesn't raise taxes that high when we're only asking for a couple $100,000. Those days of buying trucks at $200,000, buying fire trucks at $400,000 are gone. The days of planning and paying out over years and terms, and a lot of things that we purchase that are large purchase items, and having a equipment plan, which this would offset, this will make it so we do that 5 years idea. When that 5 years is up, we could roll that payment into the replacement of the 2 trucks or 1 truck at that time that Steve bought, 6 years ago and 5 years ago. That's when those trucks will be up for replacement at 10 years and maybe be able to stretch out to 12. These trucks that we're purchasing now, we're hoping to get 7 out of the small and get maybe 12 out of the big one. So who knows if it'll last that long, but that was when we were building these trucks and looking at what the specs were, was to try to get to that point. So the numbers look good for me. I mean, you figure out it's $10,000 of interest, and we're not trying to come up with $500,000.
So my question to the truck committee is, with these numbers, does this include the extended warranty?
I believe so.
I believe it did.
Yes, it does.
In that, getting those final numbers.
Because that's key.
Right.
I mean, the extended warranty on truck 4, the tandem, was 7 years. It didn't cover a damn windshield wiper motor, but it covered pretty much everything
I just
else.
had to use it again because of the starter issue. We've had one that nonstop for the last 3 years.
We had the starter problems, but the extended warranty is key on an investment like this. It's worth the money.
I agree.
So when I was corresponding with the different leasing agents, I took the numbers directly off of the chart that the select board looked at last time that Connie had provided us of what that extended warranty looked like and whether or not we were going to get a trade-in value and a couple other stats about each truck. So the numbers, at first we were estimating somewhere 475, 495. I dialed it into the exact number that had to do with that $20,000 trade-in and those extended warranties and made sure it was included this time.
Well, in my opinion, KS State Bank is the way to go.
So I make a motion that we enter into a lease agreement with,
Hold on, you see now.
I make a motion that we enter into a lease agreement with KS State Bank for 5 years at $106,777.51 a year, with the proviso that if the voters do not approve the lease at town meeting, we can back out of the agreement.
Do we hear a second for that?
Second.
motion? Okay.
Can I ask that you amend your motion because we don't know what the exact interest rate is going to be the moment that we let them know that?
They haven't seen official documentation from the dealerships and stuff like that, so.
I think we have to actually fill out an application in order to get a locked-in rate. So I don't know how that motion would be worded.
With
And
KS
we
State.
enter into an agreement with KS Bank, State Bank, not to exceed something? Because
Yes.
we have to have some dollar amount in there.
That's the perfect way to word it, is not to exceed.
Not to exceed $115,000 a year for a 5-year lease with the proviso that we can back out if the voters don't approve the lease at town meeting.
Do we hear another second for that?
Second.
Any further discussion on that motion? Yeah,
I just want to know how the rest of the board feels about whether or not I vote or not, just because I was on the committee and directly involved with talking to the different.
I would say you could vote.
I don't think that sounds like a conflict of interest to me.
No.
Okay, just asking.
Thank you. All right, any other discussion on that motion?
Just to clarify, we're taking and signing into an agreement at the 5.4% in the terms agreed and holding it off until town meeting?
No, that's not
No.
what I said.
What Ally's provision was that there be a clause in the lease agreement that says if the voters do not approve the appropriation, that we can back out of the lease at no penalty.
We have money in budget this year for the first payment.
Yeah.
So after that, we have to either raise that payment every year in our.
And by the reserve accounts being informed, it was to purchase equipment. And then once you guys did the grader and stuff, it was all part of that reserve account creation, that it would automatically, once the first payment was done out of that account, it would go right into the regular operating budget. Because I questioned that myself as a taxpayer, how could we make that move, and that's how it was worded. So basically, once it's been, that first payment's out of that reserve, it goes, the rest of the payments go into the regular budget. It can be part of the regular budget voted at town meeting. Because that's how the grader and the backhoe is done.
My question, it's not a question, I just want to read the motion to
Yes.
make sure we have it correct. To enter into a lease agreement with KS Bank not to exceed $115,000 annually.
Yep.
With the provision that we do not move forward if it doesn't have the clause that we can break the lease if the voters do not approve. Is that the right motion?
With the proviso that if the voters don't approve it at town meeting, we're left blameless. or left? How would you say it?
That we can
Well-
exit with no penalty.
Exit no penalty?
By town meeting, you're not gonna have a truck to pay for, correct?
No, they
Yes,
have
we
on the
will.
line.
No, we'll have them by that before
These
winter.
are pre-built.
If we
In
order
October.
soon.
The F600?
Yeah.
But if I call him tomorrow and say, put our name on one, we'll have it by November.
So the next steps, as I understand it, is to put our name on the truck and then, like what Jeremy just said, and then we have to fill out the financing application with the company. And then we schedule that our first payment. They can give us up to a year to make our first payment, even if we have the truck and we're approved for the lease, or we can pay it within 30 days. They let you choose that date. So that was my other question for the select board is when would we want that first payment to get paid? I'm not sure what the vendor of the truck, when they would give it. That's kind of a Jeremy conversation with the vendor, I think. But those are some terms that we would need to work out, and also who fills out the application, since we don't have a treasurer.
I just had to reread it.
You want to reread the
I just
motion?
want to make sure I have it right.
Let's confirm. Yeah, thank you, Kate.
Okay, enter into a lease agreement with KS Bank not to exceed $115,000 annually with the provision that we do not move forward if it doesn't have the clause that allows the town to exit the lease with no penalty if the voters do not approve.
Okay.
That town meeting.
And it's
Are we required?
KS
What's
state.
that?
Do we have to, are we required to get permission in county?
That's what we did last time.
Well, we could either do it in an article or we could do it as part of the budget. And if, people can question line items and eliminate them.
Because that was one of mine.
Yeah, we could present it either way, but either way it could be not approved by the voters.
The only thing I'll point out is that last time, we did not have a reserve fund that was so specific that included leases. The reserve fund now includes purchase, lease, repairs. That didn't exist when we had those emergency
Right.
leases we entered into.
Right.
Oh, and I also want to say that I don't have the exact number of that reserve account in front of me, but I do think that this number that we would possibly be voting in today does not exhaust that entire reserve fund. I think there would be some monies left over in it, which is also feedback that we got from the town, that if we were going to create reserves, they didn't want us to create it, fund it, and drain it. And I think that we had intentionally tried to go into this truck purchase or purchase of 2 trucks, carrying over those reserve funds and using them while not exhausting them.
Yeah.
And the thing is, my suggestion would do is put the payment at the beginning or near your third quarter.
I was just thinking the
You
same.
can balance it, your second quarter is usually your school payments.
Yeah.
Having that flexibility would be very nice. It's a great, I recommend that.
I agree.
personally.
No, I agree. I strongly agree.
So if somebody just wants to send me that information, like when exactly would you like me to inform them of when we would like our first payment? I've been told by each leasing agent that we can set that to anything.
Do they need that to be set at signing?
I believe so, yes. That's
Okay.
part of the terms.
Okay.
So we have a motion outstanding. I
Yep.
think Ally has amended it. Steve, are you seconding the amendment?
Yes.
Okay.
Do we want to include an amendment for the payment date? For setting that date as well, the first payment?
I'm not sure it's necessary.
Well, it sounds like it is from what Katie said, is that they need to have a date when we sign.
I mean, it comes down to a cash flow issue, so.
The way that it has, this is not what is required, but the way that town has done it before is Elaine used to break up the appropriation to the highway reserve funds into 4 quarters. So it would take to the 3rd or 4th quarter to get your entire amount to cover it, but that's not, you don't have to do that.
Darlene doesn't do it that way.
Or you can do it that way, or you don't have to do it that way. It seems to me though it may make sense.
I would just throw out an April payment in early April. But I don't know but it does sound like, Katie, from what I understand, that you do need to have also a payment date if we were to move forward with that.
Yeah, and there's some other info in there when I was looking at certain companies as opposed to other companies that are you paying the money and then taking possession, or are you taking possession and then paying the money? And that was something that I've bought a house, but I haven't bought a big, huge 1-ton truck before. So that's kind of those things that I had some questions for the leasing agents about. But ideally, from what I understand, and maybe Jeremy wants to chime in on this, we would like to take possession as soon as possible and then make that first payment. It sounds like in April or third quarter. If possible, that might be the scenario that we're looking for.
I just think if we make it part of the motion, then we don't have flexibility for Katie to do that. You know, if they say, well, we can't do April, we need to do, then she needs to come back to us if it's.
Well, it sounds like they said they could do any time within a year. That's what we
They can. They can. You set the date of it.
But they're looking for us to tell them when, essentially, between now and next July.
You can consider setting it for 30 days after the third quarter is due.
Yeah.
Then that gives you the 30 days to make the payment after hopefully everybody pays their quarterly taxes. Yeah, which didn't work too well this year.
I think you're gonna need to have a quicker turnaround, maybe a special meeting to authorize the purchase once you find out if it's agreeable or not. Because we're pressing on time trying to lock secure in those 2 trucks.
I believe that the motion does.
Yeah, the
allow
motion
them
does
to
do
move
that.
forward, as long as that clause is in there.
So, get phone calls tomorrow and
We haven't voted
ball
yet.
rolling.
If it's approved.
And
Nobody has amended the motion to include a date.
And I don't think we need to have a special town meeting. We laid all of this out at town meeting itself and explained to the people what they were voting for in terms of like us being able to finance trucks in our timeframes and what we were looking for.
Yeah.
And we got permission and we got that reserve funded through having that conversation. So since the article at town meeting included purchase, lease, repair, I think we're okay to move forward from what I understand.
I think what Dale was suggesting was a special select board meeting, not a special town meeting.
Yes, I was trying to make sure.
I'm sorry, I
If
misunderstood.
there was,
It's all good.
I mean, the big thing is getting that clause, and I have a bad feeling they may not, certain financing companies don't allow that clause.
Yeah.
It would basically be repoed.
Right. So, Katie, I just want to be clear, you do need a date, right? Like if we move forward with the motion and it does not have a payment date on it, then we can't necessarily actually move forward with the financing.
Well, I think, yeah, because I didn't want to make that decision on behalf of the town. I had told the leasing agents, I said, we pay for the grader in September. I don't know. If we took possession today, maybe we would want our first payment in 30 days. I have no idea. I need to talk to the board. So that's not a decision I'm comfortable making in terms of it being ironclad for the next 5 years of the town. So I think it's important for us to work on that, figure that out.
So do I hear an amendment to add a payment date for the first payment?
You want to amend your motion?
So I'll amend the motion to include the payment date, the third quarter in the month of April 2027.
Steve, you want to
Second.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion on whether or not to enter into this lease agreement with K Estate? All right, the motion before us is to enter into a lease agreement, 5 years, not to exceed $115,000 annually to purchase these 2 trucks, with the provision that if the voters do not approve the appropriation in following years, that the town can break the lease at no penalty, with the first payment beginning in the 3rd quarter in April 2027. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
5-0.
All right, thank you, Highway Committee, Katie, Ally, everyone for discussion and moving on this. We can move on to the Sheriff Pilot Program for regional policing. Wyndham County Sheriff's Office reached out to us to request whether we would join the Wyndham County Regional Law Enforcement Governance Council and appoint a select board member to that council. This is a new pilot program that has come out from the state. The state approved, or the legislature approved, to start a pilot opt-in model which authorizes towns in Wyndham County to form a governance council to provide sustainable, reliable, equitable law enforcement services across towns. This pilot will end June 30th, 2034. So there's a multi-year pilot that is only applying to Wyndham County and only to law enforcement services. The council requires at least 5 towns to join and establish a council. It would consist of 1 select board member from each participating town, which would give that town 1 vote on the council. The council would work to organize, elect officers, adopt bylaws, define scope and level and scope of services, develop standards, performance metrics, prepare a budget, and enter into an annual service agreement with the sheriff. The powers and duties, I'm just reading off from what the Sheriff Anderson provided us. The powers and duties of this council would be to adopt those bylaws, work with the sheriff to create an annual budget, work with the sheriff to establish those services, the types and level of services, what reporting requirements would be implemented, and all services in coordination with other law enforcement agencies and emergency services. They develop standards for performance metrics, standards and performance metrics for services. They would monitor service delivery and evaluate program effectiveness, deliver progress reports to the legislature and to the member towns, including financial statements, service delivery statistics and performance metrics, participation and satisfaction of member towns, any challenges that are being encountered, and recommendations. The members on the council would report back to their respective towns, and they would be drafting budgets and submitting them to assistant judges by December of each year, providing an assessment to each participating town based on population. That would show up in the county tax bill as a separate item. And they say that it would be anticipated that towns may use, which we don't have, but may use existing funds currently budgeted for law enforcement contracts to cover these costs. So as a reminder, this is not a program to enter into services with the Wyndham County Sheriff's Office. This is to whether or not we authorize the town to join this council and appoint a select board member to be on the council and set what those services and expectations and budgets would be. So that
I'm
means
willing to do it, but I'm only a select board member until March. That's the only.
so that being said, I would look for a motion whether we seek to join the town of Townsend to join the Wyndham County Regional Law Enforcement Governance Council, and then we could discuss appointing somebody after that. But I appreciate, Ali, that you volunteer right away. And I know we have talked about this before. Go ahead.
Backstory on why this is coming from, like, the state of Vermont that wants to start regional policing
Yes.
across an entire county with only 5 towns joining?
So
Like, that just seems like a power grab. Is that not the point?
No.
what I would say to this is towns have struggled with providing policing because of cost primarily. Well, I would say cost primarily. Maybe there's also other issues with policing that towns might have, but cost is a really big driving force as to why or why not a town may enter into policing contracts. There has been discussions with the Windham County Sheriff's Office of how could we do some like regional policing model. Is there something where there could be kind of a cost sharing between multiple towns? And that hasn't worked for other reasons as well, whether, you know, they're just not getting as much services, or they're still paying in and still kind of not really seeing the benefits of the money that is being spent. The reason why this needed to be authorized by the state to have this pilot program is because the Vermont law, according to Sheriff Anderson, did not allow realistic models for intermunicipal sharing of law enforcement resources in ways that work for towns. So we encountered just this sort of like, everybody gets 10 hours, but maybe that's not really equitably distributed. So this is a new legal avenue, a pilot program for the next 7 years, roughly 8 years, to explore whether or not that works. And it is being piloted only in Windham County right now. They're looking for a minimum of five towns to join that council. And so from there, we would get some more specifics as to what do the new services, or what could new services look like, and whether or not towns actually vote to appropriate that. But that's kind of the bit of background I have here.
Connie and I have gone to many meetings down there, and he's worked hard to get it to this point, and it's like you said, Nick, it's not saying that it's gonna happen, it's just investigative, really.
I had a concern by what you just read.
Yeah.
Are we gonna be on the hook for increased county taxes, or is it only to the towns that participate get the increased divided budget from the county tax?
Yes.
And if we're gonna get increased county taxes and not reap a benefit, I would have a serious concern.
That is
Obviously, if we don't participate.
Yeah.
I
That is
mean,
a
that
great
would be
point.
something I'd like to, the one point I would personally like to clarify. Because if they're gonna be able to submit budgets to the county, and then the county divvies that up amongst all the towns, to pay sheriff, that's only to get policing to 5 state towns, then that's spreading the burden. This to me is a way of them trying to introduce county government and having more county services and being able to afford it, which may not be a bad idea, but I'm not into that decision tonight.
Yeah.
I'm just pointing that out as a
So
layman here, sitting here, you reading that kind of disturbed me.
They do specifically, Windham County Sheriff's Office do specifically address that, saying that this act does not impact towns that do not choose to join. They are not assessed for council services, do not lose their current rights to contract independently or establish their own police departments, and are not affected in their relationship with Vermont State Police. So this is only affecting the towns that actually opt in to be part of this structure. Yeah.
So if we enter in as one of the 5 towns, we're not paying anything, we're basically getting the right to sit at the table to come up with a plan on governing.
To have a vote. Yep.
So we don't get any services, we don't pay anything until a certain time?
It's investigative, I would say.
Yeah.
How many towns are in Midland County?
Oh, I should know this off the top of my head. More than 5.
I think it's like 11. if I'm
Yeah.
not
11 or
mistaken.
12.
That's where I'm
And
ballpark.
how do they have police force already?
Well, like I know Wilmington does, Londonderry does,
Brattleboro.
Brattleboro, the bigger towns.
Right.
Londonderry has a sheriff.
Right, okay.
Not
In
the
Oh, yeah,
Jamaica,
we never
you're gonna get Londonderry, Jamaica, I think maybe Newfane probably will sign on.
Yep.
And there's Vernon,
Westminster will sign
Vernon,
on.
and Vernon and Westminster. They already had those 5. That's why he said he wanted at least 5, just because those are the ones he already has 5 contracted towns.
There's more than a dozen
Yeah.
on quick numbers.
Yeah.
13, 14.
Town, how many towns?
in the town, and the county is 14 or 15.
But I know he has those, at least those 5 contracts.
And let me just also quick read over their kind of timeline or roadmap. We're at the stage of whether or not a town chooses to join this regional council. The regional council will then work on kind of organizing themselves, getting the bylaws together, developing a budget, approving a budget, with the plan of to begin services July of next year. Whether or not they actually stick to that timeline, who knows? But that is their kind of intended, is to get somebody from each of the member towns, establish this council, and then work quickly to develop that budget and start providing services next summer. So we do not currently have a motion on the floor. Once again, I'm just looking for a motion whether or not to join the Windham County Regional Law Enforcement Governance Council, and then we can appoint somebody from there.
Okay, I will make a motion to join the Windham County Regional Law Enforcement Governance Council and appoint a select board member to the Governance Council by July 15th, 2026.
Do we hear a second?
Okay.
All right. Any discussion on whether or not we join this council?
In my opinion, the motion was made in a positive fashion, but I do not believe we should join the council.
Second.
What's your vote?
Any other members of the board have any opinions they want to share on joining the council in this pilot program? I, for one, am curious whether or not a town could choose to join at a later date. If they get the 5 towns right now and they start working on stuff, sure, we don't have a vote at the table if we don't join, but could we opt in later? And I think the answer is yes. They have the whole Act, what is it, 104, signed by or passed by the legislature, but
The part that I don't understand is why is it up to a select board member to stand there and look at a group of sheriffs and say, to tell them what to do? It's like if you see something that's going wrong, you obviously act, and if you don't see anything going wrong, you don't act. Isn't that the job of law enforcement?
yeah.
You would think.
So it's like we need to have a member of our board go to a meeting and tell somebody that if you see somebody doing 85 miles an hour on Route 30 and a 25, you need to pull them over?
I'm not sure that that's what the,
Yeah.
if you read that piece that he sent out, that's not what he said.
I think it's more about laying out what services they are going to provide the towns. So what hourly kind of expectation you can get out of the sheriff's department.
So in the years past, they tell us this is what we get per hour, these are the hours we're offering, and you either sign the contract or you don't.
Right.
So what I'm getting to is we've gone through this before with them. We had a heroin house over here on the corner for a while, and all they wanted to do is worry about pulling somebody over for not having an inspection sticker. Meanwhile, they wouldn't bother anybody with no lights, doing whatever it is they wanted to do. It was like the Wild West over here on the Common, and they didn't want anything to do with it. And that puts a bad taste in my mouth, even 5-6 years, whatever it's been removed. So it's like, that's what my point is, where it's like, how is it that one select board member is going to stand there and look at somebody and say, well, you're an officer, you've taken all these classes and courses, and it's like, you know, take care of this, don't care. If you see something wrong and you're hired through the town, you should take care of it.
Yep.
I mean,
That's not what this committee's about.
I mean, this isn't like an active police, this is an investigative 7-year thing to try and I mean, I guess they've identified there's problems with policing in these small towns. Like, you know, people can whip around Route 30 and smash into cars, people can do smack and heroin and other drugs for years, and, you know, it just becomes an eyesore and a problem for the town, but there's not like enough active policing, like community policing that impacts quality of life and makes the place better. So if you believe the cops are a good part of that, then it's nice that people in the legislature and people in the town governments are trying to come together and investigate a way, explore a way, how can we, you know, maybe through counties deliver services that are better. And yeah, there could be increased payments down the road, but this is just like a way to kind of have a voice in solving a problem that we've all experienced.
I understand what you're saying. I think that you don't understand that there's a lot of different scenarios and situations that have gone on in the past that would lead you to have the understanding that Steve and I have, where it's like you're going like, really? You know, I mean, we've had multiple conversations and meetings through the years, and this isn't just in the last couple of years, this is like a decade plus going on. And it's like, there's some people here that haven't even been in the town for that amount of time, and we're standing here saying there's been a problem, and it's like, we're trying to say now, it's still a problem. And this, by getting a board together and everybody talking about the problems doesn't cure the problem. The problem starts with, if you're part of law enforcement and you see a problem, take care of it. If you don't. But it shouldn't be up to us as a board member to be like, hey, you know, like, you know, take care of this or don't take care of that. I mean, the laws are still the same. So it's like we come to a point where we either sign a contract with the sheriff's department to take care of these services provided for this amount of time at this set price, or
We're not talking about a contract here.
Yeah.
We're talking
I
about going
that's
to
fine.
meetings to find out what's going on and to participate in a positive future, even though you've had some negative experiences in the past. Some people want police protection, some people need police protection.
So I'll jump on the tail of what Rob was talking about. Years ago, we would contract with VSP for $20,000 a year for coverage, which didn't give us much because the troopers that patrolled Townshend were all on overtime. So the 20 grand a year got ate up pretty quick. We had several meetings with Keith Clark, and then it was Mark Anderson. And number one, the rates that Windham County Sheriff would charge us was very high. And number two, they would not do everything. They would pull over a car, but they didn't want to investigate a crime or a home break-in. Rob, you know.
That's exactly what I was just trying to say. And it's like, we could go on for hours about this. Please.
So we've gone without, I mean, we had Lieutenant French here, and he told us straight out, we just don't have the troopers. We're too short-handed. We can't give you anybody. And that's when it all stopped.
My faith was kind of lost when years ago we had a burglary in town, and we ended up with 5 different departments getting charged by the sheriff's department. And that was when you're going like, really? So you had Townshend getting charged, Dummerston being charged, Marlboro, and a few other towns for an investigation. And it's going like, well,
That was a huge investigation. I think I was on board with
well,
that.
my point is like, am I right or am I wrong? That everybody got
we
charged.
burned up
So
our allotment.
one person is doing
One-
an investigation, and 5 towns are getting charged by the hour for that one person. Now, I don't know about you, but I feel a little stroked by that, where it's not even funny. Where it's like, and then there's been other circumstances. So it's like, my faith in it is minimal. And I understand that we're not looking into signing any agreement with them or anything else. My point is
As much as there's an opt-in option, is there an opt-out option?
There is.
That would be the question.
So once you opt in, any town can opt out through a majority vote of the board at any point. And once they do that, of the select board. Of this board.
For this exploratory action in 7 years. But
For this,
once they decide what to do. at the
Scott,
county
you did that
level,
twice already tonight.
You're in the county unless you know,
Well,
you can't get out of the county.
it only
So it might be
applies,
part of-
the services only apply to the member towns of the council,
Right now.
Isn't this
as
explored?
laid out in the
Yes.
act.
Yes.
As laid out in
Right
the,
now.
as laid out in the act. The only people that would receive services are those towns that opt into this council.
Which could begin, you said, in a year. the service,
Which-
Theoretically.
Theoretically could begin next July. Any town can opt out or
So you
can
start paying a rate.
remove themselves from that at any point.
So it could be like a good process, be at the table, see the solutions. If
Yeah,
we
yeah.
continue to be disappointed in what we're seeing, opt out. What's the harm in opting in?
Well, the harm, if there's a cost, right? Is now you're on the hook for whatever that
Oh, I
county
thought you
tax
said
is.
No, there's no cost now.
There's no cost now, but if you're part of the member towns, then you are paying that county tax that gets assessed.
You don't have to be a member town to join the committee to sit in.
You do. That's what being a member town would be.
And you cannot opt out before.
You can.
Decide.
You
You
can.
can opt out.
So once you.
Opt out is always an option,
So it's
How
not
much
risk
it
free.
is?
but in order to be a member, you have to opt in.
Okay.
That's how you become a member.
But you don't pay anything to become a member.
You don't pay anything until they set a budget.
Right, and then at
You
that
can opt
point,
out.
if they're like, we're gonna charge these
Then we can say we
participating
don't.
towns, then we can say,
don't like
you know,
this.
we wanted it to be this price, it's not effective for us, we got burned in the past, and we're opting out. Right? Am I wrong about this?
I don't think you are.
Okay. Seems like it'd be good to have a seat of two.
Yeah, Connie?
I'm putting on a resident hat out there.
Yep.
It seems to me if we have a member of the select board who's willing to attend the meetings, it's worth having a representative at the early stages of this to be able to raise the concerns that Rob and Steve have raised. If we don't participate, we can't raise those concerns.
We raised them at the point and they were kicked under the rug and we were snuffed off. And when you have
It's a
that,
different
all right,
entity.
cool. But
Things have changed staffing wise, committees.
There's a different head of the
Leader.
sheriff's department.
And is there any state funding for
But
this?
the
or
head
no?
of the sheriff's department now was the assistant at the time.
No.
It's not like,
There's a
Not
it's
position.
not
quite
like we
that.
just brought somebody from
Yeah.
no man's land in. You guys can do whatever. Let's vote
Well,
on
there's
it.
a motion on the table.
If there's no further discussion, we can take a vote. All those in favor of joining the Wyndham County Regional Law Enforcement Governance Council, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? All right, 1-3-0, the motion fails. We will not be joining the council at this point. Connie, if you could let Sheriff Anderson know tomorrow, just so that they have that clear, since they need that answer by tomorrow. All right,
Before he orders new cruisers.
you can't do that until there's a budget. Acton Cemetery cleanup update. So really quick before I turn to you, Rob, just for what you were mentioning at the start of the meeting. Charlie Merchant has set just a pitch-in volunteer cleanup day to be Tuesday, July 28th at 9 a.m. Again, this is no equipment, nothing heavy, just cleaning up sticks, branches, some rocks, whatever, getting things out of the way, such that somebody who is authorized to do heavy equipment work can do that. Rob, I will turn to you if you can just provide any update. I know you said you would reach out to.
I reached out to one of the local contractors about doing some chainsaw work on the project and gave him Charlie's number and he's supposed to be getting a hold of Charlie. He sounded enthusiastic about it. And basically I told him to just charge his rate, which is very accommodating, and take it out of the tree fund,
Mm-hmm.
or the tree warden fund,
Mm-hmm.
so. That's where we're at.
So, Connie, or if I see Charlie, if we could follow up with Charlie to see if he's made contact with.
Doesn't sound like he was in today.
I saw him
was in
today.
today
It didn't
and
sound like he had, but if he could reach out to this person as well, I don't know if he has.
I don't
We can
think
say he's
Charlie's
Well, I
gonna.
can-
Charlie
read out
told
to
me that the volunteers were gonna meet and they were gonna pick up anything that they could lift and throw it over the rock wall.
right. That's the Tuesday, July 28th.
Yeah. But he said.
I spoke to Charlie at length today, and I did not hear from him that he had made contact with anybody, but I did tell him that we were talking about it tonight, and I know that his hope was that whether it was before they moved the brush or after, there was going to be a contractor in there. So I don't think he's heard from him yet, because I talked to him, I thought, this afternoon.
Well, I feel confident that it'll get done before the 28th.
Should we give another call to our contractor and just
I mean, I was
get a date?
actually disappointed to see this because I was one of the early volunteers for the cleanup. And a Tuesday at 9 a.m., I got to take a day off from work now.
Yeah.
I mean, I was hoping it would be a Saturday morning
Yeah.
and we would bang it out. And it should have been done already.
Yep. All right. Well, Rob, maybe I can request if you can give Mr. Young another call.
I'll blow his phone right up.
Appreciate that. All right. That is it for old business. New business, setting the tax rates. It is my understanding that we do not yet have the homestead tax rate from the state of Vermont, so we cannot move on that tonight.
That's correct. However, that most likely is going to impact our ability to send out tax letters.
Correct.
So I'm meeting with Darlene on Friday, which I think she's going to say that we're not going to be able to get them out in time.
Yep.
So I think that there is a request from me to the board. Should we revisit this issue at the end of the week? Should we do what Newfane has done, which is to say that there are no tax letters going out on the normal schedule?
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of leave it a little open-ended? I don't
Can
know.
I suggest something? We just have to look at what our first tax payment is because there's number of dates. Well, I know when it is, but.
The letters need to go out by the 27th
Okay,
Of this month.
of July.
so we have to do that or else we have to change the tax receipt dates.
I guess I would ask for approval to have Nick be authorized to decide, once we meet with Darlene on Friday, to adjust the dates and the tax letter date and make it public make it known to the public. I'm not sure how. I'm just looking for some
Yeah.
ability to be able to move in that without having to
Between
call a
meetings.
special. Well, actually, we will have to call a special board meeting to actually separate.
We've been down this road before. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we didn't get the number for the school tax.
Mm-hmm.
It was delayed and it pushed everything out.
Not during my time, we did have to have a special select board meeting in order to set the rate, and then we quickly did a turnaround. So I guess I'll withdraw my thing, because we were gonna have to have a special select board meeting anyways.
Okay.
Right?
All right. So in that case,
I do think we ought to probably do what we think to do, which is to notify the public that they're doing.
then there will be a delay. The board is all right with that. Connie, can you put out just a similar notice that is saying that we don't have the rates yet, so there may be a delay? Okay.
Would we okay with that?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, Newfane said that they're delayed this year because the town is awaiting the final education tax rates for the state of Vermont and that they anticipate them going out by July 21st. That's what Newfane
We
said.
don't quite know.
Yeah, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
they're saying.
Okay, that is setting the tax rate. Unfortunately, we can't do that tonight. We have Bridge 41 engineering study bids. Do we have those? Okay. No bids came in. So,
We didn't get any bids. Oh. We had some contractors responded with some questions, and we ran them by Megan Brunk from VTrans, and I didn't think we weren't going to get any bids.
we want to reach out to those contractors.
What happens, Rob or Steve, what happens when we don't receive bids on something we put an RFP out for?
Put another one out.
We put another one out, exactly.
We keep reaching out to further if we have to.
I mean, the last bridge we had done was done by A.S. Clark, and I'm sure they would bid on another bridge for us.
They're doing
Okay.
43. This bid is for the engineering study,
Oh, for the engineering study?
Yeah.
Okay.
the design basically.
Yes, kind of.
I'm sorry, I missed.
I'm sorry.
We're gonna reissue
Just
some
somebody
more
trying to
things
get
that
in.
came out.
We have not decided that, but that is the discussion, whether to do so. Do we have a motion to reissue the RFP for the Bridge 41 engineering study?
Should we take this information back to Megan Brunk and find out if she has any suggestions on how we could get a better result next time?
Yes.
Instead of just reissuing the same exact RFP.
That sounds good to me.
Um,
We don't need a motion.
I'm happy to take the lead on that since I was already corresponding with her about it. If Connie, Jeremy, anyone else that worked on the RFP is fine with that,
Great.
I can talk to her.
Appreciate that, Katie. Yeah, fine.
So there is a woman in the waiting room, it's Crystal, and I believe she's on the school board, is what Dale said.
She was trying to get in.
And she was trying to get in, and given what happened last week,
Yeah.
I tried to chat with her to say, who are you, what do you want, you know. I couldn't sync up, couldn't get through the chat, so I put her back in the waiting room. If you are okay, I can.
What happened last week?
What's that?
What happened last week?
So last meeting.
You were sitting too far away from the screen.
I
I think
wasn't.
he saw. So are you okay with letting her in and seeing what it is that she wants to address?
Yes.
Because it may be the tax rates issue? Okay, so we're letting her in. Okay, so Crystal, you're in, if you asked.
Thank you.
Crystal, is there anything that you wanted to raise with the board, or you just wanted to be let in?
I had sent correspondence about the parking on pizza night.
And what about it?
We had, I think I had raised.
There was an issue with people parking at the bottom of Wyndham Hill last Friday night. I spoke with, I don't know if it's Robert's wife or
Kathy.
Fleming's involved with it at all.
Holly.
Today, and they're gonna put up no parking signs during the events up around the corner.
Bottom of Wyndham Hill, back when.
Wyndham Hill.
No, they were parked up around the corner. Crystal had posted on Facebook that be cautious. They were actually blocking the
One lane of
northbound
traffic,
lane,
basically.
and people were having to go over. There was a severe safety issues there.
This is off the agenda, so
Yeah.
we may want to either decide to hear this. It sounds like there's a action,
Yeah.
course of action being taken.
Pretty sure that we've gone through this before years ago, and it's been curved for a long time, so.
It's the first issue we had with it since I left here.
Yeah.
It's the first time I've seen that happen.
So I just want to be clear on the Bridge 41, we are going to go.
Katie's going to reach out to Megan Brunk.
Megan Brunk to talk about
Next
if there's
steps.
a next step. Okay.
I'll make sure that I have something for everybody at the next meeting.
Thank you, Katie. And thank you, Crystal, for bringing that up. Sounds like there's some work already to make sure that that's not going to continue.
Thank you.
we have a few town hall use requests. We're good to keep moving on the agenda. Okay. First, we have a request from Jody Lane for a celebration of life for her mother, Diana Lane. This is for Saturday, July 25th, 4 to 9 p.m., the event being 5 to 8.
Make a motion to allow Jody Lane to have a celebration of life for Diana Lane from 4 to 9 p.m. Saturday, July 25th, and waiving the fees.
Second.
Any discussion on that town hall use request? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The next request we have is for the Thrives Community Barbecue, West River Thrives, West River Valley Thrives on September 2nd from 2 to 7 p.m. with an event happening from 4 to 6. Hear a motion to approve this request.
Is this for the common or the town hall? I don't see either one on here.
I haven't talked to him.
I don't see it.
I'd make a motion to allow
For a barbecue, so.
West River Valley, or Thrives Community, West River Valley Thrives Community Barbecue on September 2nd from 2 to 7, event time being 4 to 6, with the ability to tell us within the next week or so whether they're looking for the common or the town hall.
And the fee?
And
Second.
waive the fee.
Second.
Any discussion on that request? All those in favor of allowing West River Valley Thrives to host their Thrives Community Barbecue to be determined whether they mean the town hall or the common, waiving the fee September 2nd from 2 to 7 p.m. with the event being 4 to 6, please say aye.
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 And could we actually just really quick go back to the celebration of life and just make sure that we are authorizing me on behalf of the board to sign?
I would amend the motion to allow Nick to sign the application
All right.
on behalf of the board.
Steve, you want to second that?
Second.
All right. If we're all okay with that, please say aye.
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 Thank you. Sorry for missing that. And likewise for this community barbecue. If we could just quick do that.
Want
Authorizing
the barbecue too?
Yeah.
Make a motion to amend the motion to allow Nick to sign the waiver for the West River Valley Thrives Barbecue on behalf of the select board.
Second.
All right. All those in favor allow me to sign that request as well. Aye.
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 All right. Thank you guys. All right. Last request we had is for the Townshend Pumpkin Festival on October 17th from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
It is depressing to be sitting here today, sweating our baguettes off, and we're going to approve a pumpkin festival for October.
Isn't it exciting?
I mean, am I going to walk in Walmart tomorrow and see Christmas decorations out there?
Very possible, it's only 5 months away. Is it earlier every year?
Just think about it. Halloween candy gets ordered in December. After Halloween.
Do I hear a motion to approve the Pumpkin Festival request?
So, second. So moved.
So is that Rob and seconded by Steve?
Yeah.
And then just make sure fee and authorizing me on behalf of the board to sign. Are those addressed?
Waiving the fee and authorizing Nick to sign the application.
All right.
Second.
All those in favor of authorizing or approving the Townshend Pumpkin Festival on October 17th from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the Common, waiving the fee and authorizing me to sign on behalf of the board, please say aye.
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 Opposed and abstentions? All right.
5-0.
Yes. Okay. That is the regular agenda. We do have an executive session on the agenda for the appointment or employment or evaluation of public official or employee. Do I hear a motion to exit the regular meeting and enter executive session?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of entering executive session pursuant to VSA 1, section 313A, 3, for the appointment, employment, or evaluation of a public official or employee, please say aye.
Aye. Good night, guys.
Any abstentions?
Good night.
All right, we unfortunately were not able to make a decision tonight on appointing a treasurer. The person that we had been in touch with, we have not heard back from further. So we will continue to reach out and find some plan Bs for filling the treasurer position and rescoping that position. That's all we got from the executive session. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So, second.
All those in favor of adjourning the meeting at 8:25, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, thank you.